I'm Ivory.
I'm Antoinette.
And this is Black Girls with No Rhythm. So today is a good day because we have guests in the building. So we're going to be talking about growing up black. And our guests are going to introduce themselves. We'll start with you.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Tyler.
Hey everybody, I'm Sierra, and I am a mental health therapist. I work here in Atlanta, and I'll be coming and just talking about it from a mental health perspective today.
Okay, so when you speak of growing up black, like what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Well, for me, from experience, growing up black was going to school, getting your education, chores, and once you got to a certain age, like real life started.
Mm-hmm.
What age?
18, pretty much.
So at 18 you had to start working and pay bills?
Yeah. That was like the norm for us growing up, typical black family.
What about you?
For me, I grew up with that traditional black mother that was really strict. I was the oldest of the kids, so I had a lot of responsibility. And almost the same when I turned 18. When I turned 18, it was expected either I go to college or I get a job, and I most definitely get out her house. So almost the same.
That sounds about right, because I know with me, it was kind of like, okay, you grow up. I grew up in a single parent household. You know, I watched my mom. She raised us. She went to work. She came home. She partied on the weekends. That was the routine. Sometimes you go to your auntie's house. Sometimes you stay at home. Your cousins come over there. And you grow up, you graduate, and it's like, okay, what's next?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's like real life.
That wasn't my reality. So for me, they were really strict. Like, to the point where I was in high school and still couldn't have boys call my house. I got pregnant at 17, which I guess by that point it was like she knew whatever she wanted to do. And then that's when they loosened up. But after 18, after I graduated, I didn't have to pay bills in my house. I didn't pay bills in my house until I was like, okay, I live here. I pay the cable bill. Like, I chose the bills that I paid in my house. And I didn't have to get out until I moved out on my own. Like, nobody was like, okay, you 18, here go your bill. You gotta pay it, or any of that. Like, other than the strict part, that wasn't my reality growing up.
I got my first bill when I was 16. And, well, no, I take that back. I got my first bill when I was like 14 because, yeah, no, don't, hold on. Pump your brakes. Calm down. Calm down.
My bad.
I had got a pager. Everybody had a pager. You know, so I was like, okay, I want a pager. My mom was like, I can buy you a pager, no problem. But that pager bill costs $10 a month. How you gonna pay it? That's completely up to you. So that was my introduction to paying bills. So at first it started out like I would just ask everybody for like $1 over time, and then I had $10 to pay my pager bill at the end of the month. But then we started babysitting and stuff like that, so I would get money to pay my pager bill, and eventually that transferred over as I got older to my cell phone bill. So, you know, just having to pay my own cell phone bill. But once I got like a real job, my first job was at Foot Locker, and all my mama kids had jobs by the time they turned 15. I waited the longest. I was 16. But I got a job at Foot Locker, and it was just like, okay, well, maybe you can help with the water bill. So I gave money towards the water bill every month, and it was pretty much like that up until I moved with my aunt for a little while. So I stopped paying the bill because I obviously wasn't living there anymore. But then I graduated high school, and it's time to go. You got to figure it out. She never said, hey, you got to get out my house. But I just knew, okay, I'm 18 now. It's time for me to pull my own weight. What do I do next? So I left.
For me, I would start off by saying I put a disclaimer. I am younger than a lot of y'all. But still, like certain things I did go through kind of helped me and kind of just opened my eyes to a lot of stuff being young and not really knowing what I'm doing, but I'm doing it just because, you know, other things that I see. So it's like, for us, we didn't really have to, so to speak, like, get a job to get out. It was just more so of like I saw my folks struggling so much. You know what I'm saying? So when I was at that age, or when I was able to get a job and go ahead and help out, it wasn't that they was asking for help, but it was just in me to like fill that void. You know what I'm saying? Because
You
it's
saw the
like,
need.
Yeah, like I just saw the need. I saw the struggle and I saw what we was going through. So it's like, okay, cool. To kind of lighten the load a little bit, I'm gonna get a job so I can pay my own phone bill and they don't have to worry about it. Or I can buy my own school clothes so they don't have to worry about it. And it wasn't so much of like, you know, you have to do this, you have to do that. But over time, they got comfortable with me doing it so much to where they felt like I had to do it.
It became expected.
It became expected. So it's like once I figured out, okay, cool, I want more money and I want a better job, and I did what I had to do to do that, or to get more money, or to get that better job. It was like your hand was out more. You know what I'm saying? It was like, hey, okay, he making this good amount of money. He can pay this now. He can pay that now. And, you know, it just kind of, over time, it took me a long time to realize, like, what was going on. But when I did realize it, was like, oh, yeah, like, it's time to go. So it wasn't them putting me out. It was me wanting to leave.
And how old were you?
18. Shoot.
Oh, okay.
I started buying my own school clothes. I started work when I was 15. So me buying my own school clothes, helping out. Yeah, like 15, 16 years old. You know, as a child, you end up, you find yourself losing yourself because you're drowning yourself in all these adult problems, and you don't have these specific adults around you to teach you how to still be a kid, because their focus is just mainly on, you know, getting that bill paid, or, you know, having some extra money in their pocket rather.
I agree. And like you were saying, just you saw your parents struggling and decided to help. And like with me, I don't know if I actually decided to help or I just felt inclined to help. Before I could actually get a job, I babysat. And I would, you know, give a portion to my mom just to help out. And then when I got a job, like I remember getting a job and getting my first paycheck right before like school started my senior year. And since my mom struggled, like we never really had school clothes. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna get my hair done. I'm gonna do all this stuff. It's senior year. And I remember my mom saying, well, I got a bill due.
Right.
And that bill was like most of my check. And I gave it to her because what would that say about me if we don't have any lights, but I'm going to school and I got all the flyest clothes?
Right.
So you all had to grow up like you had to make adult decisions as children.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. And then like just going back to what she said, for her as a child giving up her whole check to help pay the light bill, she shouldn't have to feel that void of feeling bad to do that. Or if she wouldn't have gave her mom that money, you shouldn't have felt bad for getting your hair done, because at the end of the day, you're still a child, and you know what I'm saying? Like your mom still, no offense to nobody, but as parents, that's that role that you take on. Whatever expenses your child have, that's what you do. Like you by all means you handle it for your kids. That's just the responsibility that you set.
But as a child, as a teenager, that's not how you see it. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Because
and it's not.
Right.
back then, we feel good. Well, I can't speak for we, but I know it's me. I felt good to be able to like, okay, I got this little Foot Locker check.
Right.
My mama don't have to worry about buying my stuff from home.
Right.
My mama don't have to worry about my stinker dues. You know, even when I went to the Navy, my first paycheck, I didn't get it because I was in boot camp. So you get like this little stub or whatever, you see how much you got. So when I got out of boot camp, I got all this money in my bank account that I've never had before, because I've never had no more than like $500 at a time. So now I got like 4 digits in my bank account, and the first thing I did was wrote my mama a check.
Right.
Yeah.
I did not sign no record deal.
Right.
I was not a millionaire, but that like writing my mama that check for me was like buying my mama a house. I'm like, look at me. I get to send my mama some money and she get to go splurge and enjoy herself. You know what I'm saying? Like, it felt good. At that point, nothing said to me that that's not what a child's supposed to do for their mama.
Right.
Like, that's what I thought you were supposed to do for your parents.
So my upbringing was nothing similar and no comparison. So how does that, I know Tyler, you don't have kids, but how does that affect how you all raise your kids? Because I raised mine pretty much how I was raised.
Right.
So Lindsay's 18 and she still don't have a job. So I had to basically threaten her and be like, look, if you don't at least find a job, I'm not paying for senior dudes. Like, you don't have to pay for them, but you got to find a job because you just sitting here not doing anything. You have all this idle time. And don't get me wrong, she's a cheerleader and she makes good grades. So I'm not going to take everything from her, but I just want her. They're not straight A's. Exactly my point. Exactly my point. Like,
Tuskegee?
She needs to get a job. Like, she just is. I don't want to say she's entitled, but her hand is always out. Her hand is always out, and on top of that, if I ask her to do something, she complain about it. Like, nah, little girl, you gotta at least get a job.
So it's just more so of her understanding the value of a dollar, and just that money don't grow on trees.
Exactly, and that's where she is not at.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to, and like me and Mo are guilty of wanting to give our children everything because we feel like we didn't have enough.
That's us.
You know, so we try to be like, oh, well, if you do this, then you get this. Or if you do this, then, you know, this is how you get rewarded. But really, that's not how it is. Like, we give our children anything. Like, my son has everything. My son was like 4 years old with a Mac computer. He got Xbox. He got a gumball machine. Like, my son, no bullshit, my son has a candy machine in his room.
Like,
my son has everything he asked for.
I can dig it.
It's not healthy though.
It's healthy.
Okay, I'm not the professional, so we're gonna
I think
get
it
that
can.
question. Because in my
It can
mind,
be healthy though. It just depends on how you full out do it. Like, not if you just giving him everything and
so
you
she
just
literally just said though.
yeah, but she like
I'm listening.
if you're not giving him everything. I mean, I'm sorry, you give him everything, but
he's a great kid.
Right, that's what I'm saying, right? Like,
Freaking great.
And so, like, even without talking about the professional aspect, like, even to go back to what we were talking about, I didn't know that what I was doing was different from anyone until I went to college and was having conversations with friends about like what they did growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I didn't know it was wrong. I didn't know
everybody around you was probably
right because we all were struggling, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when I realized, oh man, maybe this isn't right. I tried to work on better ways to fix it, but even to go back to how does this reflect on me as a parent? There's a fine line where, like, you do want to give your kids the opportunities that you didn't have growing up. But at the same time, I know I can't give my kids everything because when you look at this generation, I call it the popcorn generation.
Yeah.
They got to have everything right now.
Yeah.
And you go into jobs, and that creates, like, anxiety for some of the kids because they're going into jobs, and the first time something doesn't go their way, they're upset. They're talking about how they can't handle it. They don't have the tools because we're not giving them coping skills on how to handle disappointment because my mom always gave it to me. Right. My dad always gave it to me. And so as a parent, there is like that balance because when my kids are good, I want them to know that I respect them and I'm proud of them and I want to see them succeed. But at the same time, I can't have that expectation like you're going to always get what you want because in life, it's just not gonna work that way.
Right.
No, I never looked at it like that.
That make a lot of sense.
It does.
It make a lot of sense.
Shut up. Y'all can see how
we see it.
Y'all don't understand that I didn't say maybe not the exact same thing that you said, but something similar to that. And she just when somebody else said it just made
you might not buy Lindsay and Marquise everything like how we buy AJ, but
I said
they spoiled.
Yes,
I just said
like you the pot calling the kettle black.
They just sat here and said that she had to get a job, and we stopped doing Christmas in my house.
Okay,
because it got to the point where I'd be like, Marquise, what you want for Christmas? Like, I don't know. Let me just get a book and circle stuff. No. Like, so then we started doing vacations. So I'm trying to fix it now with him because I see where it went wrong with Lindsay, and I tell Lindsay no all the time, and I have it, but I just won't give it to her. But with him, I'm like, okay, we're going to do something a little differently because I can't. Because he had an Xbox and an iPad before he was 5.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, and a laptop.
Yeah.
It wasn't a Mac, but it was a laptop. But I wasn't buying it though.
Right.
So it wasn't me. It was like his grandparents.
But you still have control of that.
No, I don't have control of what his grandparents buy him.
You do.
I would
promise you
say
don't.
I have grandparents where every time Christmas comes around, it's like, hey, don't buy a lot of toys, don't do this, don't do that. And it's like, okay. And then on Christmas, I'm like, where are we going to put all this stuff?
And I
Like,
think that they're trying to make up for what they didn't do.
right.
And it's not my parents, you know what I mean? So I'm not going to stop them from doing something because
Right.
it may be their way of making amends
Right,
for
right.
what happened or didn't happen.
That makes sense.
And I think it's
Go ahead.
Sorry, I think it's important because it brings up how a lot of what we do is generational. You know, I couldn't do it with my kids, so when I get grandkids, I'm gonna try my best to make up for it. And even with the grandkids, you know, one of the biggest things that we have to realize is it's important to have boundaries. It's
Right.
okay to say no. It's okay to tell family members no.
Right.
And a lot of times growing up, we didn't do that because for me, I felt obligated to say yes and didn't know how to say no because it wasn't like people around me were saying no all the
Right.
time. So yeah, it's about being able to talk about boundaries and also recognizing like those generational things.
Okay, so the generational things. I know when we were coming up, my aunts and uncles would be quick to call somebody a fast-ass little girl or a nappy-headed little boy or bad this or bad that. I know that Ira and I, we talk about it all the time. And we don't do it. Like, we don't label our children. So did you experience that, Tyler, coming up?
Yeah, so by me being 25, I feel like I'm not in this generation, but I'm more in tune with this generation than y'all are. So with that being said, yeah.
You don't think I'm in tune with this generation?
Oh, you
I'm just playing. I know. I'm clearly out of touch.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah. we just gonna keep it going. But for me though, like I said, I'm 25, so literally coming up firsthand, that's what, you know what I'm saying, your uncles and your aunties and, you know, grandparents, that's what they said. They called you fast, and you know what I'm saying, they pointed shit out. Like,
You're pointing out your flaws.
can I curse?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We got a grown
Okay. But yeah, like they, you know what I'm saying, they called shit out, and they weren't, you know, back then they weren't afraid to do so, and they didn't look at it as like, you know, I'm not your parent or I'm not related to you, so I can't say that type of thing. It was like, no, if you out there popping and you ain't at the age you should be popping, I'm gonna tell you that your little ass.
But I don't think that that's fast though. I think that children dance. You know what I'm saying? So to call a little girl fast because she's standing outside dancing, I feel like that's going too far, because at the end of the day, that's what children do.
And
I think that's where we got messed up at, is because I know for me, I was like probably 10, 11 years old when people started calling me fast. And I didn't know what the fuck fast was.
Right.
But you called me fast for so long.
And it made me
eventually
intrigued
I
on what
embodied it.
fast.
You know what I'm saying?
Right,
It's like,
right,
oh shit,
right.
I'm fast. Yep, I'm a hot, fast little
right,
girl.
right,
You know what I'm
right.
saying? So now I'm walking up and down the street switching my ass because shit.
Right.
I've been fast all this time. Might as well be fast.
And I do agree with that, because like older women, they misinterpret what fast is. They, like you said, they just think a small dance or you just dancing, enjoying yourself with your cousins or your little girlfriends is just fast. But I think for me,
Don't
it
fuck
depends
around and put on
on.
the little bitty pair of shorts in the
That's what I'm
summertime.
saying. It depends
And
on the
walk
type of
past-
dance you're
And
doing.
walk past somebody, man, and sit your little fast ass down, switching
yeah.
around in front of these grown men.
Instead of it being, well, let's call out that man for looking at this little girl,
Right,
it becomes we put it on the girl.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things we gotta fix.
We got to do better.
Because with the whole R. Kelly situation, it was not R. Kelly's fault. It was the girl's fault. Everybody was blaming the girls.
And it
for
was
what he
mainly
doing.
black women
Yeah.
placing the blame on these young, vulnerable girls. It's like, as a grown woman, how can you sit up here and blame a 13-year-old for a grown man sleeping with her? But that's how it is in the black household. And I'm not gonna say black because I can only say black because I can only speak for black
Right,
households.
right.
You know what I'm saying? But I think everybody would agree that that's a problem that's going on in our community.
Yeah, most definitely.
I think we were taught from a young age to be ashamed of what we have. You know, if people sexualized us, it was our fault. If I got called fast, it was our fault. I got called fast because I hung with a whole bunch of boys, but I was a tomboy, and I like playing basketball, and I like, you know, but nobody ever taught me, like, okay, the girls in my neighborhood, some of them didn't like me because they thought maybe I was hanging with their boyfriends for a reason, or no one really taught me how to relate to other girls. Like, it's not like there was a lot of teaching going on in the community. And, you know, going back, it's like, well, where could I have gotten that from? Like, was it me? Was it the community? My mom worked all the time, so she didn't have that to teach
That's
me.
what I said. I think, I'm not to cut you off.
No, you good.
But to jump into that, though, I really think, like, that's with, like Ivor said, with the black community, because that's all I can really speak on. Where do we learn from? You know what I'm saying?
And I don't think they could have taught it to us because I don't think that they knew.
They didn't.
Exactly.
They didn't know.
Exactly. And so a lot of this starts with us. A lot of it starts with us, number one, being able to do differently in our homes. And number two, when we see those quote unquote fast little girls, pulling them to the side, because oftentimes they don't have no one to just come up to them and say, hey, what's going on? How's life going for you? You know, a lot of us suffer from low self-esteem. A lot of us suffer from depression. When you're talking about kids, I can't even go into, you know, the statistics, but I will say, so a lot of what I do focuses on trauma. And we've talked about a lot of this trauma comes from, like, our childhood. So when we experience things like community violence, if we grow up in poverty and there's a lot of shooting or there's a lot of fights, and that does something to our body. We learn to be in fight or flight mode all the time.
24/7.
24/7. You're talking about physical abuse, being exposed to sexual abuse, and sexual abuse occurs on a spectrum. So when those grown men are looking at you, that's a form of sexual abuse because you're being objectified, or you being looked at. And it could go into, like, you know, there was the big thing at Aretha Franklin's funeral where the preacher touched Ariana Grande, fondling. You know, think about all the times where you or someone you knew were touched inappropriately and what that was like.
Right.
You know, I will say, based on statistics, based on statistics, 1 out of every 4 girls will experience some form of sexual abuse during their lifetime. It's 4 of us in here.
Wow.
Same thing for males, 1 out of 6. And this is only what's reported, because we also know with shame, a lot of our stuff don't get reported.
Right.
Because if I go and I tell my mom and she blames it on me because of something I wore, or if I go and tell my dad, you know, if they're in the home, because my dad wasn't there. And with males, you know, think about how many men have had their virginity taken by an older woman, and they don't view that as rape.
Right.
Because what you mean? Like, we all want an older woman.
It's applauded. It's like, oh, look at you, little young boy. You got it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But deep down, you don't know, you know what I'm saying, like, what that little boy is thinking in his head. Like, that's not how he wanted his first time to be.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Or even with that, another thing that we don't talk about in our community, but it happens, is men touching on boys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People in your family touching on you. Like, like, everybody was so disgusted when the movie Precious came out or whatever, but that's people reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People live that every single day.
Every day.
But nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
And trying to get a man to talk about somebody touching him is not about it.
Especially if another man touched him.
Right.
Exactly.
He's not about that. That's something that he's buried all the way deep inside him, and it shows itself through homophobia.
Yeah.
Right.
Through insecurity. You know what I'm saying? And it makes them angry. And we, the black woman, we're the ones who have to try to lift that man up and make him feel good. But
tap into our mind to break us down to get it out.
At the same time, now, but we're going through stuff. So it's like, dang, we 2 broken people in a relationship trying to
find ourselves
and heal from our childhood.
Yeah.
and try to figure out how to love each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we create kids.
Right.
And how does that work? But even to go back on the black woman, that's where that superwoman stereotype comes from.
Oh, yeah.
Because I gotta cover you, I gotta cover you, and then at the end of the day, I don't have anything left for myself. And so I'm depressed, but I can't tell nobody I'm depressed, because if I go and I tell my mom, she's gonna say, well, baby, just keep it moving. You know, just be strong, pray about it, you know, and let's not even get into all the, you know, the messages.
You gotta take care of your family. You gotta
Right,
take care of this
right.
man. You know, you can't be broken trying to raise a family, but shit, we do it every day.
And that's
Exactly.
why, just to like really piggyback, because I am the only male here today, I will say though, I was just talking to my fiance last night, and I was just pretty much telling her like how much I think men need to realize that we actually need women. You know, we are the ones that are, you know, mentally unstable. We are the ones that actually need that physical love from a woman, that mental love from a woman, and just that stability from a woman, because like y'all just said, y'all hold it down. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's with the kids, whether it's dealing with our depression, our anxiety, our issues, or y'all's as well, and just going through the motion of your everyday life. Like, we don't never acknowledge what women actually go through mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Like, we always, you know, just brush it off type thing, or, you know, we just don't really ever give y'all that credit. And I just really feel like once a man understands that, you know, it's the woman that we need or that he needs, then we'll actually be okay, because y'all help us out a whole lot, like a whole lot.
And it's about looking at it from the wholeness perspective. As much as you need them, we need you, our kids need us. You know, we need our neighbors.
Partnership.
You know, it's all a partnership, and I want to be complete. And so part of that starts with self. I got to be able to love myself and understand myself, whether I'm a male or a female, before I can learn how to love someone else. Because if you're missing some pieces and I'm missing some pieces and we come together, that's not going to make me feel whole. You know, and so it's just all about being able to practice self-love and have those boundaries.
But I think as a generation, we're becoming more and more aware of what's going on, the mental health and things like that. Because I know me personally, I talk about therapy, you know, and all this stuff, like, you should go to therapy. This person needs therapy. You should go to therapy. You know what I'm saying? But I ain't never been to therapy. You know what I'm saying? And I probably need therapy more than half of the people that I know.
No, I'm not agreeing with you needing therapy. We all need it. We all need it. We all need it.
But I made one of the things I said in 2019 that I was actually going to talk to like a professional. You know what I'm saying? Like, go in and get some real advice, and, you know, not even advice, just ways of coping and moving on and being able to move
just for
past
somebody
it,
to help you understand and to just get through it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think a lot of times, like we were saying, our parents didn't know, so they weren't able to teach us how to cope with certain things about life, because they weren't taught that. They were just taught to get up, go to work, take care of your family, and keep it moving. So they weren't emotionally there for us to even teach us about just how to deal with simple things. So for me, I found myself just kind of blaming, you know, my parents for everything that I didn't have or that I didn't experience or that I felt like I should have been going through. I was blaming them for it. It's my dad's fault because he didn't teach me this, or it's my mom's fault because, you know, she wasn't there to teach me this. But at the end of the day, I can't blame nobody. I just got to accept it and learn from it, because they weren't taught, so they don't know. So I can't really blame them for something that they didn't know. And still to this day, it's still, I ain't blaming them, but like I'm learning how to not blame them, and, you know what I'm saying, just move forward with it.
And I think another thing that we're taught is just kind of like, we don't really seek outside help, because the thing is, everybody who black know, like, what happened in my house, stay in my house. You know what I'm saying? Like, how dare you go and think that you finna talk to somebody else about what we got going on up in here? You know, like, hell no.
And then, like you say, with that though, like, it was a norm for your typical black house. Like, whatever going on in my house stays in my house. So like you say, that kind of lessened you to, you know what I'm saying? It kind of just muted you to opening up about certain things, whether you wanted to say something or not, or whether you think it was bad or not, or okay to say, you still didn't say it because it went on in my house. And my mom and my daddy said, don't say nothing about what's going on inside my house. So.
Even now with this podcast, like, sometimes we talk about stuff, and, you know, I might go a little bit into detail, but I'm just like, shit, I'm my mama hear this, she gonna tell me.
Right.
My mama is not finna be cussing me out after we finish recording this podcast. But I'm trying to learn to like move past that, because at the end of the day, your truth is your truth, and you should be able to say,
Oh, yeah.
this is what I went through, this is what I experienced, and this is how it made me feel.
And not be
you know,
ashamed
because
of it.
a lot of times we feel ashamed about
Yeah.
feeling bad about something. Like,
Exactly.
you don't have a right to
Right.
feel this way.
Right.
But you are entitled to your feelings about what you
Absolutely.
experienced in this life.
Absolutely.
So,
And we help people more when we're raw and we're honest.
Absolutely.
And then what? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Like with Lindsay, me and Lindsay have a really awesome relationship. It's like, I think it's inappropriate. Like, I really do think that our relationship is inappropriate, because it's more of a friendship than it is
Right.
a mother-daughter. It's a friendship with boundaries.
Right.
As long as y'all have those boundaries, that's
than
good.
a mother-daughter relationship. So, like, some of the conversations that we have, in the inside, I'd be cringing. Mm-hmm. But on the outside, I'd be like, for real? That's what happened? You that? And then I'd be like, oh, God. But, you know, so I'm, like, trying to, one, let her know that it's all right to... Sex is okay.
Right.
Because when I grew up, sex wasn't okay. It was like, it was shamed upon, and you don't do it and be ashamed of your body.
what did your mama tell you about sex? Your mama didn't tell you anything about sex?
I don't ever remember having a conversation with my mom. I remember her saying, if you want to have sex, let me know and I'll put you on birth control. And then 3 days later, saying that when you put your daughter on birth control, that gives her permission to have sex. So it's like you're giving me two different messages about the same thing. So with Lindsay, I'm just like, I want you to wait till you get married, but I understand if you don't. Just come to me and tell me that you're ready to have sex, and we can go forward from there.
Right.
But like, there is no...
What would you have liked to be said? What would you have wanted somebody to tell you?
That just like come and talk to me, like, make it okay. So first we had to normalize sex. Sex couldn't be a bad word in my house.
Right.
So that was the first thing we had to get over. We had to normalize that I'm married. We had sex.
That's
Right.
Now don't come knock on it.
Right.
Go somewhere else.
Right.
Like, so first we had to normalize the fact that people have sex. So then after it became like, okay, it's not this word that I can't say, then it was like, okay, we can talk about it. Like, don't get me wrong, we're not going into details about her sex life. I don't want none to know no parts of that.
Right.
But I also want you to know that it's okay to have sex. Like, it's not this freaking taboo topic. So I just wanted that growing up. I just wanted to know that my sexuality was okay. The fact that I wanted to have sex was okay.
I know with me, my mom, she started talking to us about sex pretty early, because I got my cycle at an early age. So it's like, once you get the cycle, okay, it's time to talk about sex. But I think at the age that I got my cycle, I don't think nobody should talk to me about sex. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like 9 going on 10.
Yeah, I was
people
10.
talking to me like, you can get pregnant. And I was just like, wait.
Wait a minute.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that was a bit much. And then, but then it came to the point where it was like, okay, well, if you want to have sex, you need to let somebody know you want to have sex so we can get you some birth control, and don't just be having sex with anybody. You know what I'm saying? Don't just be just giving it up to so-and-so, especially if they ain't did nothing for you. You know what I'm saying? So, like, just don't be sleeping with anybody for no reason. You know what I'm saying? But
Don't let them open that pocketbook. They for your money.
like, but nobody ever told me, your stuff is precious.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Protect it at all costs.
Yeah.
Every time you give it up to somebody, you giving away some of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody ever told me these things. So for me, it was just like, oh, you feeling tingly? Shit. You know?
Let's explore.
Just make sure you on birth control. Make sure you use condoms. And like, me and my best friend, we got on the bus, we went and got us some birth control, we went and got us some condoms. So we like, shit, we can have sex now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
But even, the conversation about birth control, it was just like, you get on birth control. We don't talk about what birth control does to your body or any of that.
You know what I'm
it was
saying?
just, you get on it.
Yep.
You know?
Then it made you fast if you was on it. Or if you was on birth control and somebody found out, you was
yeah.
fast. You was
Let me
the
tell you how my
whole-
mama found out I was on birth control. My sister had just had her baby, so we was down at the hospital. And my niece used to go on people's purses for candy. And she pulled out my birth control. She was like, can somebody open this candy? But it wasn't candy. It was my little pack of the birth control. Yeah. But, like, I know for me, I'm going to teach my daughter, you know, if you just absolutely feel the need to want to have sex, like, I can't, what I do know is you can't stop them from having sex.
Right.
But I just want to make her understand how precious she is as a woman.
Know her worth.
Yeah.
That's my
And just build that trust, just build that.
Because it's not just about sex. It's
Right.
like they have to, when you know your worth, then you're not going to just give it to anybody.
Right.
Like, and then it's not about what he can do for you.
Right.
It has to be an equal relationship.
Yep.
And I
that's
think that
the
comes with
hard
confidence too. Like once you
Yeah.
you build your child's confidence, you know, male or female, but because we're talking about daughters, you build your baby girl's confidence to where she knows what she is and what type of woman she is once she gets of age, and y'all have that trust to, you know, y'all have built that trust to where, you know, when she does decide to do that, you know what I'm saying? I'm cringing like I got kids, but when she does decide to, you know what I'm saying, open up to that, you know, that in her eyes, that right man, she does have the courtesy and the decency to come and say, Mommy, I did this.
Right.
And y'all can talk about it and learn from it, and you can trust her to know that she did it the right way, and that's with protection.
And I think that confidence and that self-esteem too comes from having a father in the household.
Yeah.
You know, your
Definitely.
mama can tell you every day how pretty you is and how
Right.
good of a woman you are, and you this and you that. But when you've never heard, when you don't know what it's like to get attention from a man,
yeah.
and when you finally get attention from a man, you don't know what to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you ain't never felt this before, so now you all over the place.
That makes
you know?
sense. That
And it
makes a
don't
lot
even
of
have to be a
sense.
father, because Lindsay didn't grow up with her dad. But I made sure that she had a lot of positive males around her. Like, and my daddy treated Lindsay just how he treated us. So it was like she knew
Right.
How
how
a man-
valuable she was, and she knew what a man was supposed to do for her. And I never wanted it to be where a man could show her something that she hadn't already experienced.
Yeah.
So that's why I do what I do for her, and I travel. Like, we travel how we travel. I posted something the other day, and I was like, I'm taking my daughter around the world because your little stink son ain't gonna take my son to
A weekend in Miami.
Start that
Right.
over here.
Yeah, I like.
Yeah.
I should say that. I
My
like
son
that. I
might
like that.
finesse you, dog.
But no, seriously though, like when we do eventually have kids, that's just all I want. Especially if we have a daughter. You know, I just pray that
Right.
I give my daughter all the confidence, all the everything she needs, financially, spiritually, mentally, physically,
Spoiled as hell.
everything. and I get it, but.
Wrapped around your finger.
And I know, but I just really want her, like, just as a man, I just want her to have that understanding that if daddy can do it for you, these little nothing ass niggas don't mean shit to you.
Right,
Like, I
right.
can go to my dad and get this.
Yeah.
If this what you doing, no, you
Let
gotta
me
come
tell you
harder than that.
something, and I feel like we're taking over this whole podcast. But Tyler, that is also a bad thing. I had that. I almost got divorced behind it. Because I don't
Yeah.
need you
Gotcha.
because I got a daddy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And that was my mindset. I don't know how you change that or how that, I don't know what you do. But my
Right.
mindset was, you ain't doing shit for me. My daddy ain't never did.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But see, that's the thing, and I guess that's where that balance comes in at, because with that same mindset, before I was able to like get all the way comfortable in my relationship, which it took me a long time.
Right.
I had, because I was raised by this single woman, I had the mindset that I don't need a motherfucker to do nothing for me.
Right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, anything you can do, I can do for myself.
Right.
Like, I can pay my own bills. I can take care of my children. There's nothing
Independence.
that you can do for me that I cannot do for myself. So it took me a long time to even be comfortable with asking my husband for anything. You know what I'm saying? And even still, I still struggle with opening my mouth, vocalizing what I expect, what I
Right.
want, what I need. Because I feel like if you can't do it for me, I can do it for myself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? My daddy might not can't do it, but guess what? I can motherfucking do it.
Right.
And what they, how to help, because I'm the same way. I grew up with a single parent, and for me it was like, okay, so I have a husband And so I shouldn't have to struggle the way my mom struggled. So it was a very unrealistic expectations where it was like, the first time you don't do what I'm expecting you to do, mind you, I'm not telling him what I'm expecting. I'm assuming that he knows and he can read my mind. And he's like, well, if you don't tell me, how I'm going to do it? But I had to go back because I did not have a playbook for how healthy relationships went. Because I knew people that were married, and there may have been some unhealthy characteristics. And even the people I knew that had healthy relationships, I didn't know like the intimate details of their relationship to know how exactly it went. So it was like, even when I knew people, I didn't know enough people. I didn't feel confident going and asking them, so how does this work? Because even if it worked for them, it may not work for me.
Right.
And so like my husband, his parents were together until his dad died. You know, his dad was the only person his mom has ever been with. And so he grew up watching that. And so you take that and mix it with somebody that grew up in a single parent household, it's rough. Because sometimes he's up here and I'm like, you know, he's just like, let me love you. And I'm like, what's that? Like, I'm going to put up this guard because I don't know. You know, and when things get too tough, I want to run sometimes, and especially in the beginning. And it took me having to like check myself, like, Sierra, this is what you've always wanted. Why are you uncomfortable? But it goes back to knowing what's healthy and what's unhealthy and setting the stage for that. And we don't talk enough about that, about like what is a healthy relationship, what's unhealthy, you know, because we're expected to just know how to be a wife. I barely knew how to be a mother.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that with the men, when they have this image about what a wife is, you know, so, and here we are, well, my mama wasn't never a wife, so you expecting this from me, and I'm looking at you like you fucking crazy. You know what I'm saying?
That comes from a lot of lack of communication.
Exactly.
And it's like, if I don't, for me, I'm an over communicator. So I don't expect anybody to know what I want. I'm going to tell you what I want. That don't always come off the right way. But it's like, this is what I need from you, and you need to let me know if you can give it to me. Right. So I think it comes from a lack of communication on both sides. I think we need to express what we need from our husband. Our husband needs to express what they need from us, and then there needs to be a middle ground. This is the end of part 1. Make sure you all listen to part 2. Make sure you subscribe to Black Girls with No Rhythm on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
This is Black Girls with No Rhythm,
and we're out.